Mr. Ben, good to have you here with us again, and glad you are joining us for this children's class again.
Good to be here.
Good to see
Always
everybody.
enjoy doing the kids video.
You know where we're standing.
Yeah.
I mean, here's that bulletin board with all of your faces on it, and just a reminder to us about all the children that are in the church here. Now, Mr. Ben, you were counting up sometime today, just kind of all the kids 18 and under.
That's right.
How many did you come up with?
So I was looking at the class roster that we had just recently made as we were preparing for the kids' classes, and it's almost 60 kids, 18 and almost 60. Can you believe that?
No, that's amazing. That is amazing.
And most all of them are up here on this board, Mr.
Yeah,
Joe.
that's right. There's probably some that are missing now, but they'll come a day before too long. Hopefully we can update this, and of course there's been some babies that's come along too, and some more coming.
That's right. And you know what I think we should do, Mr. Joe, is put some really big pictures of our faces right here in the center of the board.
Right. Oh, that is right. I'm sure everybody would enjoy seeing this, and they would say that's exactly where we belong.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so for the last, 3 or 4 weeks now? Last 3 weeks, okay, we've been talking about the power of God, really. You know, and we've talked about, the miracles that he's done, his power over nature and things like that. And this lesson is a reminder to us about power over sickness.
Such an important topic for us to be thinking about right now. Mr. Joe, I don't know if you've heard, but we're in the middle of a global pandemic. I don't know if you've heard about
There's
that.
a lot of sick people right now.
Yeah, that's right. And at this point, there's really only so much more that we can say about it.
Right.
We've talked about it endlessly for 6 months, it seems. But this is a real sickness, and there are people who have had real problems from this sickness.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, not making fun of that in any way. We're just trying to say this is a real issue. But in the Bible, when we read some of the stories about Jesus, we come to realize again, when we talk about his power, that he had power over sickness even.
That's right.
And all of us at some time or another, we've been sick. A day
hate being
where,
sick.
oh, I do too. Where your head doesn't feel good or your tummy hurts or you're just congested and you can't breathe. We all know what it's like to be sick. But some sicknesses are, they're worse than that.
That's right. Sometimes people have sicknesses that are daily, or what we call chronic sicknesses.
They don't get better.
That's right. They never get better. And they go to doctors and they take medicines and they try all kinds of things, and sometimes nothing seems to work. And Mr. Joe, Jesus met such people when he was on the earth.
Exactly. If we get sick, we might want to go to the doctor, and maybe they'll give us some medicine, some pills, or maybe you have to get a shot.
A shot!
But it makes us better, and so we're happy and we're thankful for that. But sometimes there are sicknesses that you can't be healed of that way. But Jesus had the power. You remember more than one time there was someone who was blind. Jesus made them where they could see. Or they couldn't walk, and Jesus healed them. Or leprosy. You know about leprosy?
What was that?
Well, that's like a skin disease. And in the old days, that was really bad because there was no way to make them well.
Was it like a rash or something?
Well, it was sort of like that, except their skin kind of turned white, and, it was actually very gross looking, and nobody wanted to be around you if you had leprosy because they were afraid they might catch it.
It was contagious.
Contagious,
I
and that's
see.
what it was.
So then what did they do with people who had leprosy?
If you had leprosy, you were put out of the town. You had to leave. Maybe you had to live over there in a house only with people who had leprosy because nobody wanted you around.
Oh, so that was kind of an early form of social distancing.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it would have been. You are right about that. And so Jesus was willing to spend time with sick people. And of course, he was teaching them about the kingdom of God. He was teaching them about important things concerning the gospel. And that was a good thing. But Jesus was always busy teaching. And sometimes when he was teaching, people came to him who were sick. And he would heal them, which of course demonstrated his power to do miracles and his power over sickness. And it made people listen to him all the more.
That's right. Mr. Joe, that reminds me of a song that we sing in our worship period sometimes. A song about Jesus, and it's called The Great Physician.
That's
You
right.
remember that song?
I do.
Yeah, that's an old song that we've
Yeah.
been singing for generations. But that song says that Jesus is like a great doctor, and he can heal the physical problems that people have, which he oftentimes did in his miracles while on the earth. But even more significant than that is he can heal the greatest sickness that we have, and that's our sin.
That is right. And I suppose really that has to become a point of emphasis for us here. That the greatest sickness we have is sin. It separates us from God. But the gospel of Jesus Christ teaches us that we can be healed even of our sins.
That's right. Jesus said to the Pharisees one time that it's not people who are well who need a physician, but it's those who are sick. And of course, he was talking about sickness because of sin.
Right.
But Jesus healed many people of their physical diseases. And I think it's important for us to mention, Mr. Joe, that the kinds of sicknesses that Jesus would oftentimes heal, they were visible illnesses.
Right.
It wasn't just, well, little Johnny has a headache.
Right.
You can't see a headache. But if Jesus could give someone sight who once was blind, or if he could make a lame person walk,
right,
you could see that.
Oh, there'd be no question about that.
That's right.
Nobody could say, well, they were just pretending or they were faking. But no, they would know that that was truly a miracle. That was the power of God over sickness.
That's right.
And so, we've talked in some other lessons, we talked about miracles before, and we talked about, power over nature. Mm-hmm. You remember when Jesus calmed the sea? You remember that, the storm?
Peace be still.
Peace be still, and the waters calmed down, and incredible power to be able to do that. And here again, we're thinking about power over sickness. The power of Jesus was just so great, and it was something, I want to put a word out there. It was supernatural. Okay? Supernatural.
What does that mean?
Well, really it just means that it was not the way things were usually done. It's just like when the storm was great and the sea and the waves were big. When the storm went on its way, over time, the waves would have calmed down. That's natural.
I see. So do you remember a few weeks ago when we talked about that very lesson about Jesus' power over nature? We said that God created the world with a structure and an order.
Right.
And when the seasons change and when the sun comes up and the moon comes out at night, we expect that because that's the order that God created. But sometimes things get out of order.
Yes.
Or in this case, with the word supernatural, what we mean by that is something unusual, something that was beyond what's naturally expected.
Right.
And when Jesus could stop a storm, or when Jesus could give sight to a blind person, that was beyond what was naturally expected. And that's what the word supernatural means.
That's right. Or you remember when Jesus fed 5,000 with 2 fish and 5
loaves of bread and a couple fish,
And now what was natural would have been that would have fed 2 people or 3 people, but Jesus fed over 5,000.
And had 12 baskets left over, right?
Right, that's right. One thing that we can see about Jesus in his teaching and the miracles that he did everywhere he went was that Jesus had a heart full of compassion. But now, do you know what compassion is? Do you know what the compassion means? Now, see, this is important because this is a part of who Jesus really was. The idea is that, he really cared for people. He loved people. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just about healing their sicknesses. That wasn't the primary purpose of Jesus. He came to teach and save the lost. I want to read a passage.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Matthew chapter 9, beginning in verse 35. Of course, Jesus has been out teaching in the countryside and in the cities and all along. And it says, Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. So that speaks about what we were just saying. That Jesus came to teach and try to save the lost. And along the way, often he healed people of their sicknesses. But now, verse 36, but when he saw the multitudes, that just means there was a lot of people.
Big crowd of people.
When he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion for them because they were weary and scattered like a sheep having no shepherd. Compassion. And that's sort of what I wanted us to think about for a moment.
It's like he felt sorry for them.
He did.
The people had great needs, and
He
he
did.
knew that he was the one who could meet those needs.
That's right. That's right.
Now, Mr. Joe, I think we need to say this. Jesus, God, can heal any sickness that a person may have. But that doesn't mean that he will.
That's right.
That doesn't mean that he will always do that.
Right.
He might do that, but he might not. And it's hard for us to understand that sometimes.
Yes.
It's hard for us to understand, well, why wouldn't God heal this sick person in the hospital? Why wouldn't God heal this person from their disease? And we don't know all the answers to that. The Bible does tell us some things about it, and we can know some things, but we can't know everything. But I think it's important for us that whatever God chooses to do with our sickness or maybe the sickness of a loved one whom we care about, we just have to learn to trust God to do what's best.
This is right, because God will always do what's best. There is a natural law or a natural progression of how things happen. People get sick. Sometimes naturally we can get better. We can fight that off on our own. And yet sometimes sickness is so much in our bodies that, we can't get better from that. The purpose of Jesus on earth was not just to go around and heal all of the sick. His purpose was to preach the kingdom of heaven.
That's right.
To preach the gospel that would save us. That's what we really need. And sometimes when he went around from one place to another, he saw people who were sick and he had compassion on them and he healed them, which of course helped to prove that he was the Son of God.
That's right. So when we get sick, we go to the doctor, we get medicine, and hopefully we get better.
Yes.
But it's important that we say this. Doctors, wonderful as they are, they can do many things that help us, but they can't do everything.
That's right.
Jesus can do all things.
Yes, he can.
And it's important for us to keep that in mind, to put our hope and our trust in him and his great power.
Absolutely. That is right. That just gives us a little bit more to think about concerning Jesus and his power and the power of God. It'll save us, and we need to always remember that.
Thanks for watching with us today. We hope you've enjoyed it. Bye-bye.